Got it. Cool. So minimize that. And we will be starting momentarily. Yeah, I guess 5 minutes is a good buffer time. Y'all had a good weekend?
Nah, man, going through it.
Still the weekend.
Them Lakers
Oh, man.
getting real Duffy, man.
Oh, man. It's
They
cool.
done. They done.
All right, cool. So click this and we'll be starting in a moment. Let's see. Click this link and go here. Gotcha. Yeah, so we're gonna be starting in a moment, just getting a few things in order. You know me, I finish up one meeting and then I hop on another. And there we go. Is this the link here? And we can go from there. Yeah, this should be an interesting week though. I'm looking forward to it.
The video got earnings this week, right?
Yep, on Wednesday. On Wednesday. It's upcoming Wednesday. So yeah, let me go ahead and start this. And then we good. Cool. Smaller. Okay, cool. And we should be able to lock in. All right, so starting. Cool. So we should be able to get this. What's going on, KK?
Hey, what it do?
Not too much, just trying to get things started and just finished up a one-on-one, so trying to, you know.
Somebody about to be going crazy this week. That one-on-one hit different.
Oh, yeah, we'll see, you know, how everything work out. You know how that goes, man.
Right.
Yeah. How was your weekend? I take that as good.
No, my bad. I couldn't press the button. Yeah, it was all right, you know, with the family, you know, the vibes.
True. Second. All right. All right, so I'm gonna give people like a few more minutes to kind of to come in, and then we're gonna just go ahead and get started. But yeah, no, I think we're gonna have a good week this week, man. During my one-on-one that I just had, a few things got unpacked that, you know how things happen in real time on a one-on-one. So it was one of those moments, and yeah, so we should be good though. Yeah, I think you want to do this. I'm trying to mute this audio. Oh yeah, just mute. All right, cool. That's cool. All right, what's up? Cool. All right, just figure something else out. Yeah, so we getting started now. So I see a few people starting to come in. Hey, KK, do you mind sending a message in the group and let the team know that we live?
Sure. You want me at everyone?
Yeah, that's cool.
All right.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good week this week though, I think. Got a few charts to hit. few stocks to hit. And yeah. Okay. So yeah, they should be hopping on. I mean, and we can go ahead and get started. So y'all know me, I'm just ready to get started though now. But yeah, so the way we doing this now, since we doing this live here, if anybody got questions, they can type them, you know, unless you on Zoom, you know, and do it that way also. But yeah, try to type them questions out too. And so I'm just gonna hop in and get started, man. Y'all know who I am, so I don't have to read this screen. I don't know why I hate reading that screen anyway. But do this disclaimer though. By watching or reading this, you're saying you understand the following. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not trading advice. This is solely for educational purposes. There are significant financial risk associated with options trading. Now I'm not liable for your wins or losses in the market if you decide to act on this information. So here we go. Cool. So yeah, man. So let's hop into it. So right now for this upcoming week, man, we got a lot of catalyst this week for the market. And so we got, I'm gonna start with the Fed lineup. We got Bullard on Monday at 8:30. So we got Bullard at pre-market. Now, you know, it's a few of these Fed people that stand out to me when they 1 second, my bad. I meant to take the waiting room off of the thing. My bad, y'all. There we go. So Bullard is one of those people. He's one of those Fed members that he likes to cause turmoil in the market. When he comes out and speaks, it's always something that goes against with a grain, or he don't hold his tongue, put it like that. So if the Fed, you ask Powell something, and you know Powell, he's going to dance around the question, Bullard going to come straight out and say it. And we got him pre-market on Monday. So let's see what he's talking about. That's, you know, let's see how that goes. We got Bostic on Monday at 10:50. So after, you know, right after power hour. But Bostic is cool. You know, he laid back. He don't really do too much. So he's cool. Barkin, I don't know who that guy is. Logan, he's not, that's Thursday. So I'm sorry, Tuesday, we got Logan at 9 a.m. That's still pre-market. And then we got Collins. We got her. Okay. So Collins, she's speaking on Thursday at 10:30 a.m. She's cool too. As far as economic data, this upcoming week, we got PMI services. But look, I'm just gonna go get right to it, man. We got the Fed minutes on Wednesday. You know, they're gonna drop them at these are the minutes from the FOMC meeting that we had a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. They always drop the Fed minutes 3 weeks after that meeting. Now, the reason this is so important is because right after the FOMC meeting, which is a 2-day meeting, so Powell come out and he give us the rate hike, if they're going to do a rate hike, the Fed decision, as we call it, and then they go into the presser, right? So he tell us whatever the rate hike is, then they go into the press conference. The press ask him a lot of questions, and even they try to ask the same questions so many ways, but Powell, he's solid with it. He never answers the question straight up. He's going to dance around everything you ask him, and he's going, no matter how you try to trick him, he's going to answer the question the same way. So we really much, the last time he spoke, we didn't really get much information out of him that was different than what was said. But what happens is during the FOMC meeting, that's a closed door meeting with just Fed members, with people of the Federal Reserve, right? Voting members. So we'll know how many of those members voted against that 25 basis point rate hike, or how many of them said that we should pause, how many of them really think we're going to have a recession about it, you know, the first quarter next year, end of this year. We'll find out all of the stuff that Powell would not answer during that meeting. We're going to find that out on Wednesday at 2 p.m. when those meeting minutes come out. So that's more volatile to me. And the last few times the Fed minutes came out, the market sold off when those minutes came out. So Wednesday at 2 p.m., we'll be waiting for the Fed minutes, the release of those Fed minutes. So then we got GDP on Thursday. GDP, that's another thing that's a wild card. GDP, it moves the market. Now, lately, right away, what's been happening, we've been getting movement, but it hasn't been enough. Like, for example, I'm gonna give y'all, so for everybody that don't know, if there's a big event coming up, a big economic event coming up, they're pricing in a move. They're pricing in. So like, if you think, all right, well, GDP, they're going to release that pre-market on Thursday morning. So at 8:30 a.m. on Thursday morning, if market makers feel like whatever GDP is going to be a market mover, they're going to price that move into the whatever stock. Most of the time we play SPY with something like that, which is SPY is an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. The S&P 500 contains the top 500 stocks on the New York Stock Exchange. So we play that. Playing that ETF is like playing all of those stocks at once, right? So what they'll do is they'll price in a move. And so if they're expecting that GDP to move the market $5 and it doesn't move the market $5 and you played options, you're going to lose money when you trade that. You know what I mean? Especially based on how much time you have on those contracts. So paying attention to the data that's coming out and whether it's market movement the report is important, because last month GDP didn't do what it was supposed to do, right? So right away it didn't. Because what they try to do is they try to clap the FOMO traders. So it's a lot of, all of us are retail traders, but what they do is they'll come out, the house always wins, so people try to compare the stock market. You can compare it to a lot of things, but they got market makers and people that are filling the orders and all of this. So right, what happens is when they're pricing those moves in the stocks, a lot of people that like to buy those 0 days to expiration contracts. So because they're cheaper, a lot of things that's cheap isn't good for you. So the move that we're looking for typically takes place at the end of the day after those contracts have expired or about to expire, or they're closing those positions out. So after they've already theta clapped those contracts and IV crushed those contracts, and we'll go deeper into that another time. That's not the time for it, but just pointing that out. But GDP didn't do what it was supposed to do last time. So sometimes you just got to give yourself some margin. You got to give yourself some time. So we like, okay, GDP may move the market, but it may not move it right then and there that same day. So you buy yourself some time on there to give you some grace wherever you think it could actually go. And we'll know closer to Thursday what they're pricing in for GDP. So we'll see what's going on. We got the jobless claims coming out on Thursday, and we got the pending home sales index. But most importantly, we got core PCI, the pricing index. We got that coming out on Friday pre-market. Now, the reason PCE is so important is because PCE, it measures inflation, but it's also the Fed's number one point of reference to measuring inflation. Powell talks about it all the time. So PCE did move the market last time, but it didn't move it right away. So, PCE is always going to be a market mover in my opinion. So we're going to see how this works out. But yeah, so what we like to do is we always looking at the economic data to see what's going on. A lot of people just say, well, let's get right into trades. But the reason this is important, because you can be in the perfect trade, have the perfect setup, and then all of a sudden your trade fall off a cliff and you don't know why, because GDP must came out, or it was something regarding PCE, or a Fed speaker was talking at 10:30 a.m. and you didn't know about it. And then the market just did something weird. So it's important to keep that up. Let's see, everyone. Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, everybody share the live, man. Anybody you think that's going to get information, get some use out of this, share the live, man. So, but yeah, so this is how the market finished last week, man. This is just the overview, it's a heat map of the S&P 500, right? And we had some nice stocks that finished green, but for the most part, a lot of the stocks that ran for the last few weeks finished red last week. We have sector rotation and just market rotation. And, when certain stocks get to overbought levels, then you sell them and you rotate into other stocks that were oversold and that are breaking out now. So this is just how it works. And you see how we had the overall market direction was bearish still at the end of the day, but just for the daily. But on the weekly and the monthly, SPY was green and we're going to go a little further into this though. Second. So these were the sectors, how the sectors perform. So now typically what happens is when there's a lot of flow going into certain sectors, like I was saying, they rotate out of those when they get to oversold levels and go into others. So this was the Friday before last. And this was how the market finished last Friday here. So as you can see, we had the energy sector, healthcare, materials, and consumer staples. They were the only green sectors. Tech was barely red, but it still finished red. And the most bearish sector for last week was consumer discretionary, and it's interesting. And communication sector. Now, I mean, the communication sector, they did sell off Meta and Netflix before the end of the day, where they were selling off the whole market. You have financials, and so, but we'll see how this all plays out though. But it's just good to see exactly how the market finished, because most of the time when you're trading stocks, you're not looking at the overall sector. I like to look at the sector to see what the sector is doing, because, for example, if you're trading Tesla and the EV sector is red, you want to trade with the direction of the sector. And that probably wasn't a good example, because Tesla does its own thing. Tesla does its own thing, especially with Elon being there, right? So that was the stock market, right? As far as stocks goes. This is options. So this is options order flow right here. On Friday, the most flow went into Tesla options, followed by Amazon, then Meta, TLT, and Baba. On the put side, we had HYG. I don't know what that is. Does anybody know what HYG is? This was where the most bear flow went in this. So the most puts went into this particular stock on Friday, followed by MU, Apple, and BK&G. So a lot of bear flow. I'm just going to throw that in there in the video because it's right there, but I'm trying to go just 5 down. On the week though, on the whole week last week, Meta, the most flow went into Meta last week, followed by NVIDIA, Google, Baba, and Microsoft. On and interesting. So TQQQ. So TQQQ, right, is, so you know QQQ is an ETF that tracks the NASDAQ, right? The top stocks, technology stocks in the on the stock market, right? But check this out. You got TQQQ, it just monitors the technology portion of the sector, because you have financial stocks in QQQ also. So, but there's a lot of flow went into that also on Friday. And shout out to Win. On the put side, we had that HYG again. I got to figure out what that is. Somebody put that in the chat. Find out what that is for me and put that in the chat. We had AbbVie, Disney, and UPS were among the top, well, the bearish flow in AMNG on the put side. Okay, so then they were selling off XLE, which is the ETF that tracks the energy sector also. But just go back up here for a second, right? So I got to point this out, not just to shout out Meta, but just to say, like, the two stocks that had the two most bullish stocks on the stock market for 2023 have been Meta and NVIDIA. And NVIDIA got earnings on Wednesday. So let's go into that. So yeah, so let's go into like some lessons recap. I got some things. I'm gonna start it off. I'm gonna kick it off this time. You know, I always kick this off to the team, ask if they have anything that they want to recap or questions to talk about. So I was doing a one-on-one a little while ago before this meeting started, and we were just talking about a few trades, and so Apple came up, right? And so we traded Apple. We made a lot of money off Apple, but we were in this one Apple swing trade. And I'm gonna bring up the chart too. And the trade didn't play out exactly the way we planned it to, right? So that trade ended up taking a $70 loss off the trade, right? So it's a $215 trade. It ended up taking a $70 loss on it, right? So, but the thing is, so Apple finished. I'm gonna go to the chart for a second because this is in context with this situation. Get out of here for a second, go to this chart. Sheesh, man. There we go. Cool. So this is the Apple chart. I'm gonna get the daily off, get the daily out of here for a second, go back to the weekly. So this is the Apple weekly chart. And so Apple beat earnings and we took a trade, right? We took a trade. We got the Apple trade. This is a weekly chart. So each one of these candles represents 1 week of price action. What we were looking for that made me decide to call this trade was I was waiting to see if Apple, we already had Apple bouncing off the 9 EMA, but what I wanted was a candle confirmation. I needed Apple to break out of this level here, and I needed Apple to solidify this breakout, because you have fake outs that happen all the time, like right here, where I got this circle here. Price broke out of this wedge and it closed under the wedge though. That's considered a fake out, right? A head fake. We got the candle confirmation, called out this trade, right? And Apple gapped down the next week, right? So it moved, it ended up moving, but it gapped down here the next week. And on a swing, but this is the thing, we had contracts, we bought those contracts on the 5th of, I think the 5th was a Friday, right? Yeah, so we bought those contracts on the 5th of May, but we had the monthly contract. They didn't expire until the 19th. And so my plan, like every chart tells a story, and especially with swing trades, man, well, every chart tells a story regardless, but with swing trades, you want the story has to be clear. The story has to be clear. So I like what chart tells the story. Looked like Apple wanted to retest the all-time high, but only under certain conditions. My plan was not for it to retest the all-time high, but for it to go to 175. So we played the 175 call on Apple. Now at the time, so Apple was at like what was that, 173, but I think we got into that a little earlier. But yeah, so that 173, my goal was for Apple to go for the 175 call to go in the money. I'm only calling out a trade if I think the stock can actually get there and you give it enough time for the stock to get to that particular level that you're looking for. That's the most important thing, right? So Apple, the ATR for Apple, average true range is $2.66. So it moves an average of $2.66 a day. So I'm like, okay, so if Apple was at this particular price and is bullish right now, and we got this breakout, because you got to look at this, everything everything is relative. Two things could have happened with Apple. It was either gonna reject here like it did before and violently sell off, or it was going to break out and finally show us that bulls had enough strength to break through all of this selling pressure. This was a supply zone here. This is where people say, okay, well, Apple was, I made enough money off of Apple. It's time for me to sell it. They would always do it at the top of this trend. And it's been holding the top of this trend since December of 2021. So it's a solid, a pretty solid level. And it broke out of this level. So yeah, so the 175 call wasn't that far away. Price gap down. And so I told my team, well, as long as market structure over P&L. So that means if a stock, just because you're looking at your P&L and you might be down on a swing trade, you obviously you got your levels that you're gonna, where everybody got their risk management in place, where you say, I'm only going to allow myself to go down a certain amount before my stop loss kick in and I'm out of the trade. But then you also have to look at market structure over P&L. If you got time on the trade too, I'm like, as long as it holds this wedge break, the trade is good. We got time, and it looked like it's still going to go to my price target. So, at this point, yeah, the trade, I think it was down like a good $40 at this point, right? It still held this level and had a continuation. And so this past week, so we had another candle confirmation. It closed, it broke out. So we had a 222 continuation here, right? But it wasn't enforced. It closed lower than this opened and closed lower than the previous week, right? Although it took out the high of the previous week, it still came back down. So here on this candle here, this was the last week, this Friday that just passed, we got a bull run. Apple, those contracts were down. They came all the way back. And yeah, so anyway, like I said, the play ended up taking a $72 loss, right? But this is the point I'm trying to make with this, and I thought it was good to share this with the team, is the Apple went exactly where I thought it would go in terms of those contracts. It actually went, Apple, the higher day on Friday was 176.44. So those contracts went in the money. But when Theta kicks in, by that time, Theta is high. Theta is an options Greek. It measures time decay, right? So based on, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? So I always say, look at the options contract as ice cream and look at Theta as the sun. The closer you get to the sun, the more your options contract is going to melt away. So you gotta, so the point is to make sure that you're giving yourself more time. And again, like I said, I think there are more lessons in losses than there are in wins. We win all the time, right? So, but the thing is, you have to be comfortable. You got to be able, the only thing worse than losing is not admitting when you play something wrong, or not knowing, or not sticking to the plan, or doing what you're supposed to do. The week before, I'm trying to bring this a little bigger so y'all can see the screen fine, right? Y'all can see these levels fine, right? Oh, good.
Yeah, we should.
Good. So yeah, but now, so look, now what we typically do now, again, like I said, the second week, this week right here, I wasn't really around much. I was out doing, I had a lot of matches or whatever. So I wasn't really like engaged with my team with this trade like this. But at the same time, it's like this. At some point, you got to ask yourself, I was just talking to somebody on a one-on-one, and that's why I thought it was golden to share this with the team. At what point do you realize, okay, do I cut this trade? Do I average down on it? Or do I roll this position to a later time? Because if I still believe it's going to go where it needs to go, then I need more time. Because yeah, it went in the money on Friday, but it didn't bring me all the way back to 215. It didn't do that. It went up to 138, and well, sorry, 143, but it didn't go all the way up to the 215. So the thing is, though, it's a few ways that could have been played, though, because I tell my team too, it's not always about winning a trade, it's about playing defense. And sometimes you just want to get out of a trade and play defense on that trade and do what you need to do to just to be able to live the trade another day, if that makes sense, right? So I think that stuff is important. It's just it's equally as important to then to making money on a trade. I just think that playing defense is just something that doesn't get enough credit as it should get, but that's one of the things to me that's most important. KK, did you have something that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you all tell us about playing defense, about making sure that we're securing profit, and making sure that we're making positive moves, that sometimes you're not going to always get back to break even. You have to be able to say, okay, I've gotten back. If I was down 60% and now I've gotten back to the point of where I'm only down 10% and the trade is not doing what I needed to do, I need to be willing to cut that trade and be like, okay, I've gotten back as much as I'm going to be able to get back in the trade without, and looking at levels, of course, making sure if I'm seeing like I'm getting more resistance here where it might not push through here for me to be able to get everything back, then I am going to cut the trade. I'm going to take what I am able to receive at that time and, make a better decision, when we're trying to, when I'm ready to, make another move or whatever and look for another setup. I know the other day we were in a trade and we had been down substantially, but I averaged down at the right time, ended up coming back. I was up. I was down maybe 40%. I was up 70% on the trade, almost 80% on the trade after I averaged down, and it pulled and the stock started coming back. I believe it might have been Meta. And I went ahead and got out all the money that I originally put in the trade, and I did end up keeping one because I still believe that it was gonna get to being in the money. But, you was like, hey, did you, we spoke later and you were like, yo, I hope you were securing profit because that play was down and, it came back. You should be making sure you took your profit. And I was like, yeah, I made sure I got everything out and some percentage up, and I kept money. He was like, oh, all right. So, just trying to make better moves and, you know, learn how to play in these different market environments.
Exactly. No, I'm glad you mentioned that particular trade, that meta trade, because that was one that was that week that I told you I wasn't really around that much. But I put my team into we have study groups, and I put my team into a position where they're able to manage trades on their own. And I guess that's one of my things that I do more. I do a lot of, I do give forecasts and do a lot of things, but we also talk about a lot of defense and just knowing exactly how to manage those positions and how to just because it's more so, like I said, anybody can trade when the market going in your direction, and it's just clear, it's a clear direction. Anybody can make money when that's happening, right? But and you feel like you know how to trade, or you are a trader or something like that. And this ain't for me to categorize anybody, but I'm just saying that but when those moments when the market is not doing exactly what you wanted it to do, or what it's just not moving. That's when what Warren Buffett said, only when the tide goes in do you know who's been swimming naked, right? So who's been paying attention in class, who's been studying, who's really analyzing this price action and actually know what's really going on. That's where it really comes out. So that's why I wanted to make sure we focused on playing defense a lot. Because again, every trade, just because the last trade went up a certain amount, and I'm gonna get back to why this is important too. Like, it's okay, because a lot of times what I get is I called out when the Apple trade went down. I'll be thinking all the time. I think for people with small accounts, because most people in most places that do trade call outs and stuff like that, they're not necessarily geared towards small accounts, because you seeing the profits, but it's based off of like at least $1,000 trade or something that, that's going to really give you a large percentage. I'm thinking about the people with the small accounts too. So like if I called out a trade, let's use the Apple one, for example, and the trade was down, down, I'm just going to say $100, make it an even number. So let's say you were down $100 on a $200 trade. I cut the trade down 50%, just to use that as an example. Immediately, if I tell you to cut that trade at 50%, just cut the trade, because I'm going to follow up with a trade that's going to give you all of that back. Like, for example, so then I called out the meta trade that was only $100, came up, that trade went up 100 and something percent. I ain't talking about the meta trade I ain't talking about the other one, but I'm talking about that initial one. But I also told the team, I said, we had a Walmart swing trade, right? Typically, what we would do for Walmart is we play something called a IV move, where we play off the implied volatility. The closer you get to earnings, the higher the implied volatility. So the higher the Vega exposure, which makes the price of the options contracts go up. So if you buy them before they start to rise, you make money off the IV move, right? So we got into that trade. Walmart looked like it was going to do certain things. That Monday morning, when the market opened, because we swung them over the weekend, Walmart opened up, everything opened up, and we were in Meta and we were in Walmart. I told the team, I said, I'm getting out of Walmart at 15% profit. Now, the thing is, so we got this little rule around here, right? Where any trade that don't go up to 30%, I consider it a loss, or I don't consider that as a winning trade, right? So if the trade so most people will be waiting for that trade to go at least 30%. And if I don't say nothing, then they gonna hold it, because I'm gonna tell you to cut a bad trade, right? So Walmart, it only went up like 15%. I told the team at that moment, I said, I'm taking profit on Walmart at 15%. I ain't like the way it was looking. It didn't do what, and then but I got some kickback on it, and but the people who didn't get out of that trade ended up like suffering and hurting bad on that trade, right? And it'd be like that sometimes. But like I said, the reason I told that story is just to say that sometimes every trade is not about making a lot of money. It's about playing defense. The game is not to lose money. We're going to make a lot of money. So we're only taking high probability trades. We're not just jumping into random trades. But I just thought it was important to point out the Apple trade because of, and then you just gotta, sometimes you just gotta look at things in the way they play out. And I just feel like it's more lessons and trades that don't play out the way you wanted them to than those winners. Because I mean, anybody can get into a winning trade, right? And that's what we do for the most part, just like a lot of winning trades. But yeah, I just want us to kind of just keep that in mind and just to really like focus on the risk management and really plan that and moving according to that. Do anybody else have anything they want to add to that, or any lessons learned from last week, or just anything that y'all want to bring up before I move on? Cool. All right, cool. So I'm just gonna move on and go back over here. And I had this what I was trying to do, man. Yeah, so questions. Do anybody got any questions? So no questions right now? Buddy. All right, cool. I thought I saw KD. You don't got
Hey,
nothing?
what's up?
What's going on, bro? What's going on? How you feeling?
I'm good. I was thinking about I was looking at SPY and was looking at his weekly chart, and I feel like for some reason that it's broken its downtrend and it's in an uptrend, and it also has volume. I got my next target at 426 this week, but there's a lot of economic factors coming up this week, PCE and GDP, but there's a lot of volume that came in. Well, there was not a lot of volume, but there was enough volume to close out the week, and it closed above a certain area
volume too.
where I would call it a reversal of the downtrend. So looking into that and QQQ, both of them.
Okay. That's cool.
It wasn't a downtrend. I would have considered it still a downtrend if it did not break 416.72, but it clearly broke above that, and now it's holding 420 as a resistance. But I think it could go like to 426. My question is, do you think it's in the uptrend?
Okay, so yeah, I didn't even get to the SPY part of my presentation yet, but we can skip right to that because that's where we was headed. Yeah, so all right, so with SPY, all right, so before I go to the weekly, I'm gonna start with the daily, so you came with the heat, KD, you came with the heat, so here we go on the daily. So I had this broadening formation right here on the daily for SPY, right? And let me just move the weekly out of the way a little more. So we got this broadening formation for SPY, and SPY, it broke out of the broadening formation on the daily. The last few times that it came up and it tested this broadening formation, it got rejected here and then violently sold off. This was the first time we got a candle confirmation on the broadening formation. And then the next day, I was paying attention to this closely on Friday. This is why I called out the meta play on Friday before the close, because, and we'll get to that in a second too, but I like the way this bounced off of here and the bulls came in and found a way to close still, although, we got this candle confirmation and it still closed lower than the previous candle. I do believe that this is bullish. I mean, look at MACD, we got the oscillator bars here, and the volume was important, but the weekly is obviously more important. So this is my thing. I feel like, and I've been, for the last few weeks, this has been what I've been trying to tell. What I've been saying is, like, if SPY closes above, if it gets above 418.30, it was 418, I'm just going to say 418.65. Let's just say 65. If it gets above that particular price level, that it was going all the way, that it was going to go to 422. So my next price target is for the gap fill up at 422. And then, but on the weekly, so go back to the weekly, like you were saying, the weekly looks great. The weekly looks great. That was a crazy solid move on the weekly. If we do get a pullback, I don't see anything right now that's going to pull it back up until probably those Fed minutes on Wednesday. And if there's anything in there we don't know about, you know what I mean? But hold on one second. Here's a gap fill on the weekly. So this kind of goes in right and plays into exactly what you just said, Katie, about where price was headed. So this gap fill right here is right before the 26 price. What is that? This is the same one I have on the weekly. My bad, but I mean on the daily. But this is the weekly. It's right before it gets to 26. It got to close this gap here. But then, you know, so I can see it going up there. I can see it heading there because then there are a few other price targets, but I like 25 because I do think that where SPY could possibly go, the highest place that it could possibly go is up to 430, but I'm not sure. Like I said, we got to see what the market does, and it's NVIDIA earnings going to play a part in this too, because NVIDIA, we just were looking at that chart, and I'm gonna get to that when we get to the chart setup, so I don't really want to jump around, but no, it's cool. NVIDIA earnings coming up, and that's, you know, the market can't run without the chips, without the semiconductors. The market can't really do what it need to do without the semiconductors being involved. And yeah, so it's been holding above this breakout here too for a while, and we end this first gap fill. So yeah, I think we fill this gap. And yeah, so I'm bullish. I do believe the SPY is bullish, to directly answer your question. And the volume was extremely higher than the previous day. I mean, the previous week too, the way it finished too. So I really like the way that looks. What's up, Corleone?
All right.
What's up with you, bro?
Not too much. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. You know, I'm ready for. I've been ready for this week 3 weeks ago.
Right.
NVIDIA.
Right. You've been talking about it for a minute. So I mean, all right. So my bad. What you was about to say?
But the question I had wasn't pertaining to NVIDIA though. I was gonna say, what made Netflix pop like that?
So yeah, there was some news that they said last week about Netflix. They're gonna cut more costs, and they were gonna, because you remember the stock fell off a cliff because they were talking about they were gonna spend more money, and now they talking about cutting costs again. But yeah, that was crazy. I missed that whole move. But then we got to also consider this too, bro. Netflix had a good earnings, and there was no reason why it needed to pull back like that. And 1 second, let me just pull this back. This is the weekly here. So it came out here, did what it did, and it just took off. Netflix is one of those momentum stocks that when it's oversold, it runs. Now, we've tried this a few times, and sometimes it don't work out exactly the way you plan it, but you see, like, most of the time it comes in this zone and then it takes off. And it took, you know, Meta kind of ran with it too. It was like one of them things. But yeah, it was the news. They had a lot of bullish news that came out about them cutting costs. And this economy right now, cutting costs is just like really bullish on the market. So that was the main thing that made it break out, because you got to look at it like this. It was never bearish to be. I mean, it was never any reason, no real solid reason behind it selling off in the first place, other than the fact that they said that they were going to expand and they had to spend more money, when during earnings they had cut costs, and that's why they had such a good EPS, and the outlook was good because of, you know, everything. So I think that was the main reason though, because of the cost cutting, that they kind of went back and reiterated. So it don't take much for Netflix. You give it a small catalyst and it's going to go, especially if it's oversold, and it was oversold like hell at that time. But yeah, we should have done more with that than, yeah. But no, but I am going to go over here and talk over to NVIDIA. Then I got some questions, a question for you, or what your thought is. But I'm gonna bring it up because I was just talking to Wayne about it a little while ago, and it just so happened to come up. We were talking about AMD, and when I went and looked at the NVIDIA weekly chart right here, right? So let's look at the weekly first. So this is the thing. So the earnings on Wednesday, they're pricing in a $25 move for NVIDIA earnings, right? Either way. But if this plays out, because look, the all-time high is 346.47. If it was to play out this all-time high, that's also a double top. where it would probably sell off. So look at this, check this out, right? So my thought is, where the hell is my, I'll just use one of these, it don't matter. So, right, we got our double top here. So if this was to play out, we got a double top up here, right? So if it was to come up here for earnings, double top, and then violently sell off, come down, like that plays out in the time for the market to sell off anyway, what they were saying in June, right? If that was to play out. Now, NVIDIA is overbought like hell right now. And when it was up here at 300 and something, no, it was not worth I mean, I'm not saying that NVIDIA isn't a $300 stock, because that's not true. But I'm saying, like, right now, yeah, just I feel like it ran up a lot and it's going to come down. But if this plays out, let's say hypothetically they have a good earnings, because I'm going to you, because Corleone, like you said, you think that it's a lot of reason why they would guide up right now. And I trust what you're saying, because again, obviously we just guessing, because it's just earnings. We don't know what's going to happen with earnings. Nobody knows. But I like what you were saying. If it does play out that way, bro, then it moves $25 up. That'll still keep it below the all-time high. Then it'll have enough, it'll be able to still move a little bit the day after earnings, possibly before double topping and violently selling off. I mean, but sometimes it don't have to do that either. But I just feel like for it to break out the way it has already and have this earnings run up, it doesn't mean that it's not going to have a continuation until earnings on Wednesday, but it also sets it up for a nice pullback heading into earnings. Now, if we go over to the daily real quick, after we got this breakout here, because we've been tracking this for a few weeks now, and like I told y'all in the last study group meeting that we had, that if NVIDIA was to break out of the 292 price level, if it was to break above 294, that it was going to 300. I ain't know it was going to go all the way up there. But the thing about this is, so much momentum that goes behind this stock. This is one of them stocks that people love to be a part of, right? It's just it's a lot of people behind this stock, right? So, and then also it's going to play a big part into everything that's going on with AI and a lot of other things. My question for you is, what is your plan for NVIDIA this week? Or could you elaborate on what you think going to happen for earnings with NVIDIA, and how you feel that this could possibly play out? Or I know you had some thoughts.
I'm bullish on it for earnings, because I feel like last year the chips got hammered, but the last earnings, though, they beat. And during this quarter, the usage for AI increased so much that where, I was looking it up last night, like, well, why does NVIDIA benefit from AI? And it came up, and it was like most of the hardware that AI for the AI technology right now is NVIDIA provides it. So, and then at one point, maybe about a month and a half ago, I saw this article where somebody was selling a NVIDIA chip on eBay for like $30,000 or something like that. Just some random stuff, but it just little stuff like that. And me, the fact that I got the ChatGPT in my phone right now, and I'm constantly seeing, and it's all everybody talking about is AI, and the point that NVIDIA is already up 100% for this year. You know what I mean? From the 175 of the low, were lows last year, and came all the way to it went to 318 Thursday, and then Friday it pulled back, but the candle never the candle only went about halfway through the previous candle before it found support, and then started trending back up. And then that was with OPEX too. So I feel like that, I don't know. I feel like it could go to 350. Really, the way I saw it pop on Thursday. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so that's
And
what I'm saying.
I bought a call right where I bought a call for this week's expiry right when the candle had reached their support, and I know the IV was like 60-some%. I want to see how the IV move, how it open up on Monday, but I'm gonna just, I'm gonna build in my position around it. And then it was funny that you said something about AMD, because I was thinking about just on the strength because I don't have to worry about the IV move with it, just get some AMD calls and sympathy with it. But I feel like it's gonna beat. I don't see how they can't.
Okay.
And guide up.
Okay, yeah, because that's what's most important. Like if they got up, and yeah, I like the way they did look last quarter, and that could be the thing too. And again, like I said, this is another if they did, like I said, if they got up, then and it ran the way it did, then I don't see no reason why they wouldn't have a nice move, right? And do what they did before. I think that's cool. So yeah. Yeah, so that's a good thing. But yeah, that was a crazy breakout. But yeah, so are you looking forward? Do you think that they'll possibly have some sort of pullback or whatever heading into earnings before Thursday? I mean, before
I think if they do have a pullback, it'll be more market related than something that happened overall, like the Fed minutes or something like that. I can't really, because even if you look at the weekly and just how it closed, even though it's kind of wiki, it's still it's still at the top.
Solid.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like we still got some room to go before earnings.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just price action alone without being biased. When the reason I asked you that question is because I know that and I was just telling Wayne this too. What I like to do, I look at it like this, man. Once a stock already done ran so much, I'm like, all right, cool. This stock ran so damn much that I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. But sometimes you just gotta follow, like, get out of your head and stop trying to, sometimes you gotta just follow the price action. And the price action does say that there's gonna be a continuation. The price action does give you a continuation. But I'm then a part of me like, okay, well, I'm just looking at that double top though. I'm like, okay, if anything, it probably has room to get here. Now, if it gets here before earnings, then yeah, I don't know. But like I said, it's definitely going to be on the stock though. And I've been wrong several times before, bro. So it's been plenty of times where,
the top is 340, what, 340,
46, 47.
346, 47. Okay.
Yeah, but no, I see what you're saying. It does look like, but I mean, I'm just saying before, like I would trade it, but I want to pull back. I want to pull back and then a trade up. You know what I mean? That's what I'm looking at. Like maybe a little slight pullback and then trade. I mean, now are you looking at and again, but yeah, earnings is obviously earnings, but yeah, they pricing in a $25 move for it. So, and it could go either way. But yeah, I'm just looking at this double top as like where it could possibly, go to. With that type of finish, times past where NVIDIA had a finish like this on a weekly, it had a continuation. So I'm looking for, especially, and now we heading into earnings. Typically, what I've seen a few times on NVIDIA with earnings that if we got a crazy massive run up like this before earnings, like the week of earnings, it does have a pullback sometimes. But I was also saying if the market runs though, then I can see it having a continuation following the market. But they just do those rotations. So yeah, I don't know. We have to see, follow the price action. But yeah, that's what I wanted to know. And again, like, so we on here, we sharing our different thoughts, y'all. Like it's just what we think could possibly happen. No, we just guessing, right? The market is closed on weekends and this is what we think. But yeah, I see it definitely looked like it wants to have a continuation. This is a strong close. And even with the market pulled back, it just kind of just ran, it continued, then had another gap up on the daily before this one. It finished inside on Friday, but I think that was still strong. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this is my other thing with it though. On the daily, I just feel like price is too far away from the 50 EMA. That's my thing, my only thing. I feel like, price is so far away from the 50 EMA. I'm gonna change this back to change the color on this so we know that there's a 50. And I feel like, but yeah, that doesn't mean it ain't gonna keep running. But it's like I was saying to Wayne that, like, you know, sometimes what's the probability of it? You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool. Now, if you look at the stock on the daily here, again, this green line is my 50 EMA. The 50 EMA is the stock's mean value, right? So when the stock is closer to its 50 EMA, it's closer to the mean value, what it's actually worth, right? And stocks like to stay close to that mean value. When it gets too far away from it, it comes back closer to it. And so now it's came back closer to it a few times, and now it's breaking out. But yeah, this can still break out and continue to go again. Not saying it can't, you know, or it can get up here. Now, if it gets up here and it starts to consolidate for a while, you know, like it wants to go. But like I said, just price action alone, continuation all day. That's what it looks like to me. It looked like a continuation all day. And you know, in NVIDIA, you can never be too sure about like if they're going to really be able to take that down or not. But yeah, I think it's set up nicely for earnings. And regardless, I feel like if the earnings is bullish, the earnings come out bullish and they guide up, it's going to run like a bat out of hell. I agree with you. I don't see no reason why it wouldn't. Because look, Apple, for example, it looked like it was just a clear a chart setup is a chart setup. A double top doesn't have to play out. You know, Apple broke its downtrend that it's had since December of 2021. So sometimes you get those types of moves and sometimes you don't. So yeah, but I like it. I think it's bullish too. Looks great hitting in the earnings. Just now, obviously, I'm gonna go over to Meta real quick. Let's talk about Meta real quick. So Meta, hold on, this was a 5. Let me go to my daily. So this is the Meta daily chart. So Meta is right here at an area where it's actually heading into a gap fill, the bearish gap fill that was created several earnings ago. And you know, this was a old gap fill. Go back, look how far this gap goes back. This goes all the way back to February 2022. We made a lot of money on that gap, on that gap down. But yeah, we killed that. But yeah, so it's starting to head back into this area here. So let's just see what the market does. I like the way it finished on Friday. It found its way back up, finished with a hammer, and the weekly looks great as well. We got confluence on the weekly and the monthly. So Meta was red on the daily. It finished red on the daily, but it was bullish on the weekly and the monthly. Here's the weekly right here with this 222 reversal on the weekly. It sustained the wedge break, and the monthly looks even better. Sheesh, we finished. Look, well, the month ain't over yet. We got another whole week on this month, and we can get a reversal. Everything can happen, right? But following the price action alone, we finished with a hammer. Look, this is what's happened for Meta the last few weeks now, and this is something to keep in mind. Meta, like I talked about earlier at the beginning of this meeting, Meta and NVIDIA they had the biggest gains on the S&P 500 for the full year, right? Thus far, just Meta and NVIDIA, but they were also oversold. When the market started to come down, these stocks got hammered so much, specifically Meta, but NVIDIA did too. NVIDIA ran all the way up to $300 and something last year and came all the way back down. But here's Meta. So this is my thing for Meta. If Meta can get up to, and it's just me, like, and just you heard it first here, right? So if Meta gets above 265, if Meta gets to 265, it's going back up to 300 and it's going up to 325. If it can get above 365, we can go up to 325. This is a monthly chart. So a monthly chart can take a while to play out. So don't look at the monthly chart as something that you just want to say, well, I'm gonna go do this because each candle represents 1 month of price action. So, and this month hasn't even closed yet, but Meta's looking good right now. And they're actually, Mark Zuckerberg, they actually did another round of layoffs that are actually happening tomorrow. And so they just they've been making the company more lean, and it's just a lot of stuff going on. You know, we got back above the point of control on the monthly. I just like the way Meta looks, man. So Meta looks really good here. But yeah, you got to leave room for price to move. I just like it was strong finish. on the daily. I like that resurgence on the daily. And again, this is the week, the month here. So nice setup, and I like the way this chart looks. What's up, Red?
I say some other news with Meta too, that some type of platform that they was trying to like compete against Twitter.
Yeah. So so it says Instagram trying to come up with a platform that's like Twitter to combat Twitter. And they dropped their own chip too. They got a new chip too that they got coming out. And so we're gonna see how that all works out. So we got a lot of stuff going on with Meta right now. But yeah, so like every chart tells a story. So we're gonna see what the story tells. So, and that's why we got those 250 calls before the close, because of the way the price action was. We got the oscillator bars turning up here, and I just like the way the stock looked, man. And we got the MACD line just crossed above the signal line, and then I believe, like KD just said, that SPY is still bullish, and then QQQ looks like it's ready. QQQ getting ready, and it was turning that corner on the weekend, and we ain't going. Obviously, we're gonna hit a few of these other sectors, and I'm gonna switch off this the screen for 1 minute so I can go back to the presentation just for a second, because I want to hit these other slides, and then because we can talk about just chart setups forever, but I want to make sure we kind of get through things. So we talked about that, and we in chart setups now. But I'm gonna just go over the earnings for a second. Let's hit these earnings. So we got lows on Tuesday before the open. Now you saw what happened to Home Depot. Home Depot got that. You saw, did y'all see Home Depot earnings? What happened to them, right? And the slower growth, everything that happened with Home Depot, they're forecasting, just they have a lot of headwinds to look forward to. And typically Lowe's gonna share the same sentiment, but we have to wait and see what happens with Lowe's. I like Home Depot as a possible sympathy play. Home Depot ran like a bat out of hell on Friday and Thursday, even after missing earnings, but that was because the market ran. So this week, the stocks that are standing out to me for earnings, Zoom is a wild card. That's all I'm gonna say. Zoom is a wild card, but not necessarily sure what's gonna happen with it, but Zoom is a wild card. I like obviously Lowe's is another one to keep an eye on. NVIDIA, Snowflake, Best Buy is a great one. Dollar Tree is a great one to keep an eye on. Ulta Beauty has earnings, man. I'm gonna tell you something about Ulta Beauty. So even during the pandemic, women was buying stuff. They just never stopped buying stuff, right? So Ulta Beauty has been running like a bat out of hell. I don't know if it pulled back. We're gonna go look at the chart in a second, but Ulta Beauty has been running like hell for earnings. We got Costco on here. Keep an eye on that one as well. So now RH, right? Warren Buffett sold a lot of RH. And he mentioned it at their shareholders meeting that happened last week, that they sold a lot of RH. Now, this is the part of the time of the year where I was telling y'all that the real estate market is the only part of the economy that hasn't broken yet. And we finally just saw a peak in the real estate market just a few weeks ago. And I pointed it out. It was actually a little over a month ago. And I pointed it out to the team. So that's the part of the economy that hasn't broken yet. That's really gonna put the nail in the coffin if it breaks down, right? And it's already starting. And the real estate market is 2 months behind. It's at least 60 days behind. So the data that we get regarding the real estate market is 60 days behind. It's 60 days lagging data. So, but I just want to point that out. Another stock to keep an eye on. Workday is another one. Marvell is another stock that to watch for earnings. And so these are the stocks that I'll be looking at. But so it's a few of them on here that are, and the reason when I say watch them, I'm not saying to trade them for earnings per se, but a lot of them, like they typically you want to trade stocks with volume. Volume is the blood pressure of the stock, right? And we like to trade stocks with high blood pressure. So what gives the stock the volume is a catalyst. And earnings are a catalyst, either the run up to the earnings or the aftermath. Like even if if they miss the earnings, that's still a good opportunity to as a catalyst to trade, because you don't want to trade stocks that ain't got no news going on, because then they're gonna move sideways and they're gonna chop your options contracts up. You're gonna lose money. So we want to keep an eye on that. XPing on here too. Shout out to XPing, man. And I want to also talk about AutoZone too. So yeah, so people starting to, it's just like, it's different stocks on here that at different times they start to come back into the fray. So we'll see what they're talking about, and they'll give us different indications on what's going on in the market. Dick's is on here too, BJ's and Costco. Now, I never trade Costco earnings, right? But Costco is another stock to kind of, if like, so XLP is an ETF that tracks the consumer staples sector, and Costco is the biggest. Costco and Procter and Gamble are the biggest stocks in that sector. So they'll move the other stocks like the Walmarts and the Targets and stuff like that. They'll move in sympathy with these stocks if they have earnings, but we got BJ's first. So these are just some stocks to keep an eye on if you're looking for trades and stuff like that to the day after earnings or just heading into earnings. Now, one thing I'm gonna tell any new trader that's just listening from the sidelines, don't buy and hope, don't buy plays and swing through earnings, because that's just not something you just want to be doing. You want to take, if you're trading a run up, like let's say hypothetically, NVIDIA got earnings on Wednesday. If you saw a setup on the video on Monday and you wanted to trade it and take advantage of that earnings run up, if they have one, I mean, they already have an earnings run up, but I'm saying if you wanted to take advantage of something or whatever on that, and you up substantially or whatever, take that profit before earnings, because most likely you're going to get clapped on the earnings, because what they're going to do is they're going to run, depending on when you enter the trade. And I'm right now looking at the video right now, the implied volatility, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. The IV, it's bad, but it's not that bad. NVIDIA, the IV on NVIDIA right now that's for June. I'm too far up. Sheesh. Yeah, the NVIDIA, the IV on NVIDIA is crazy already. So it's already above 80, 70 something %. And in some places, even higher, like over 100% on the implied volatility. So now if you were to buy NVIDIA contracts right now, you're paying the inflated price that's going to get ripped from the contracts as soon as they report earnings. So as soon as they report earnings, some of that data, like I said, a lot of that stuff is going to come right out of the contracts, and you could take a loss. Now, if it does, like Corleone just said, and it actually, they beat earnings and they got up, it's going to move beyond that $25 expected move, and it's probably going to keep running. And that's a totally different situation. But I'm just saying, if you're up, you planning that you in a trade, and you already up, take your profit. Don't risk swinging your profits through earnings. You can always, if you choose to play earnings, understand that earnings is a lotto play, and there's no guarantee that you're going to win. It's literally 50-50, and then both sides can get clapped. So even if you try to do a strangle where you buy a call and a put or whatever, both sides of the trade can get clapped if it trade in the middle. Because and instances where that happens is if let's say they have a good earnings, they beat EPS and revenue, right? But then they guide down. So you'll see the stock run up, and then during their earnings call, they guide down, and then the stock come back down. So let's say NVIDIA at the night before earnings or the night of earnings, it closed at $300 per share. And then they beat earnings, it runs up to 325. And then during the earnings call, they guide down, and it comes all the way back down to 300, or go down to like 290 or something. You're still within the expected move now. So both sides of the trades get clapped. Both sides of the trade get clapped, and you got to hold it. It's earnings report after the market close or pre-market, So either way, you stuck in that trade until the next day, the next trading day, and whatever the market gives you is what you got to take. So that's why it's best to just, if you're a new trader and you're not familiar with that, I would just chill on trying to play the earnings stuff and just like use it as a run up and do it like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we all had our fair shares of that. What's up? What's up, Red Nose?
So you know how they put the extra 15 minutes on SPY?
Yes.
So with the say for instance, like you got earnings for something that could possibly move SPY as well. Have you seen it have like that 15 minutes have an impact like on getting out of trades?
Well, I'll say this, because 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 like Thinkorswim and stuff like that, they've been had that. So I've been doing that for a while. Like on QQQ specifically, I like it more than SPY when you like when Microsoft and on days where Microsoft and Amazon would have earnings the same time, the same day. Those are like two of the biggest stocks in the stock market. Or when Amazon and Apple would have earnings the same day, and when Google and Microsoft have earnings the same day, they will move SPY and QQQ exponentially when they report earnings. And so as long as they report before that 15, which Apple normally doesn't, but yeah, they normally report after. But I'm just saying a few of those, yeah, I've seen that happen, because what most people would do, they'll sell off or buy in before the market close or right there at that time. And then you'll be able to ride that wave sometimes. I mean, so sometimes it works in your favor. I've had it work in my favor a lot of times, but like specifically when Apple and Amazon reported the same date though, specifically on those times, that's a good question though. I mean, and that's a good, entry is everything, you know what I mean? So that's cool. If it's a setup, if there's a setup, that's a cool thing to play, especially if it all goes the way you think it's going to go. They ran the market all the way up and then that stock miss or something and you get that fall back. Yeah, so that's actually, so it is a good strategy that you can use sometimes if it's the right stocks that are reporting, and you can back test this stuff too and just take a look and see how it's played out in the past. And like I said, on those instances, I've seen it play out good a few times. But that's a good question. Good question. Let me see. But yeah, so that's earnings, man. Oh, so do we got an oil sector update?
Yeah, the previous week's oil was getting slaughtered. It kind of bounced back this week. But if you look particularly at XLE on the weekly,
Let me go there.
it closed with almost like a hammer.
I think there's a rotation of oil just coming up. I was looking at that chart as well. But I was looking at the daily. I seen like a double bottom, sort of.
It's at the
It's on the weekly too. Yes, I see that too on the weekly too.
Yeah, I think they rotating back into oil. So this coming week or two.
I agree too, because I think the market is coming down. So after, I don't think they're gonna let it run but so much, man. And yeah, so this would be a good time for oil to play out if that does happen. So yeah. So we got some time though. But yeah, I like this. And that's a good call out though, just to point out the weekly though in general, because look at this uptrend on the weekly. Every time it's bounced off this uptrend, it's taken off. And again, it's a week. So sometimes the daily price action might throw you for a loop, but yeah, this looks good. So we should keep an eye on oil this week. Let me take a look at gold no, my bad. I'm gonna let you finish with oil real quick. Bro.
I was just gonna second. I was just gonna second what you were saying. It got a lot of room up now.
Yeah, no, that looks good. So yeah, no, good looking on that. Thanks for pointing that out. And because we need to keep an eye on oil this week, because I know I've been sleeping on oil lately because it's been a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, gold too. So here's gold right here, right? So gold, when oil start to run, a lot of time gold run too, because they, when they take money out of the stocks, they when they take them out of the equities, they started put it in commodities or whatever. You see it finished above this 90 EMA on the weekly, but is this the daily here? Yes, a daily. So we got a gap down, but we got a 222 reversal right here on the daily. And it has a lot of room to move if it was to have a continuation up, right? Gold does. And again, we played gold a few times, but we play gold when I like to wait because gold will gap up on you in a minute. But it's been running for the last few weeks, but we've had a lot of volatility in the market too. So, but here we go. Look at this triple top right here on gold. So see what it's going to do we're going to get on it again, if it was to get up here and try to do anything, or if it's going to have a continuation down from here, just because we got one little move here, and it doesn't mean that we're going to get that. But I look at this as an area of consolidation here, and it's been congregating in this area for quite some time, and it's either going to break up or break down from here. And this is on the weekly. So we'll see what happens here and go from there. Because we were talking about gold, shit, what was it? Mine be moving a mile a minute. And I'm gonna go and it was oh yeah, the VIX. So I'm on gold, so I had to go to the VIX, man. So yeah, so the VIX is the volatility index. It measures the fear in the market. So whenever there's fear in the market, the VIX, you let me down a few times. Now, remember a few weeks ago, we were looking for a catalyst that would send the market down, right? And the VIX was feeding into that catalyst, right? But I was trying to figure out what was the market, what was the economic event that was going to happen. And it was the debt ceiling stuff. I did not account for that. That doesn't show up on the economic calendar. So, you know, and that's exactly what it was. But now I know y'all saw what happened over the weekend and in the statements that Biden said about, you know, those negotiations will not continue because we're not going to agree to the Republican terms, and it's a big mess now. So it's that what made the market break out last week was because the rumors, the streets were talking about them coming into an agreement on the debt ceiling stuff before the deadline. You know, June 1st is the deadline on the debt ceiling stuff. So that was what made the market break out and go where it needed to go, because of the relief that brings to the, you know, to the economy, right? So, but I still don't think that the VIX hasn't broken down. It's still holding support down here, and it's just ready for a moment to break out and go. And June is coming soon. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to be super bearish or whatever, but I ain't trying to be super bearish. But I'm saying when you look at the unemployment stuff that came out, and how PCE was so good and all this, but inflation has been coming down. The Powell has been doing what he needed to do for inflation. It has been coming down. So that looks good, man. That looks good. So in terms of the whole soft landing stuff that they've been talking about. But yeah, look at the VIX on the weekly though, real quick. Look at this VIX on the weekly. This is very interesting. This looks very interesting here. Let's just see. I mean, we obviously got time on this, but we got time, but hold on. But just looking at this, it's very interesting. So just for people who don't really understand, so like when the VIX is like it moves the opposite way most of the time of what the market is doing. If the market is bullish, the VIX is down because there's no fear in the market. But sometimes the VIX give you an indication before the market starts to come down. The market could be rising and the VIX could be going up because there's some fear, you know, going into the market or whatever. And so that's just something that we like to look at and to keep an eye on. And the VIX has been dormant for a little while now because things have been crazy. But let me see. 1 second. I want to show y'all this AMD chart real quick, because we were talking. Well, actually, before we go into AMD, man, I'm gonna go over to open up some of these oil stocks, because if XLE looks like that, let's see what Exxon look like, you know, see what Exxon. So Exxon looks similar, very similar to what XLE looks like. You know, got the same setup, that same double bottom forming on the weekly and the daily. You know, so Chevron probably got the same setup, finished with a hammer on the week and an inside, not inside, my bad. It's a 222 continuation, but a doji light candle on, well, the bulls and bears are, you know, it's finished lower than it and higher, but it's still like kind of centered, almost like a doji candle. Let's see what Chevron looks like. Probably look very similar to that setup. Okay, Chevron looks similar. It's a little bit more green, though on the daily. 222 reversal. It rejected the 90 EMA on the daily, but it's still holding up right here with a hammer on the week. So yeah, all of these stocks, they looking good. Now, check Oxy out. So yeah, so this is the stocks to keep an eye on if this happens. So, okay, so this is what they did to Oxy. Oxy ran up Still same setup, but you know, it rejected the hell out of that 21 EMA on the daily, but it's still holding 9 with an inverse hammer on the daily. I mean on the weekly. So that one looks a little bearish. Let me see.
Yeah, actually been weak since Berkshire Hathaway announced that they weren't gonna keep buying it. Well, he didn't
Yeah,
say he wasn't going to keep buying it.
He said he
just
was-
put it up in the air. He said we may or may not.
yeah, yes, yeah, exactly. And because he was the if he the one that ran it up, you know, and his him getting out of it would definitely bring it down to you. That was a good point that he said that. Now I want to take a look at real quick QQQ because KD brought up QQQ. Now, if y'all got any suggestions that y'all want me to look at, some charts or whatever, post them in the chat on IG, and I will pull them stocks up. But yeah, I really like the way, and KD, you were right about this, bro. This is crazy. This looks even better, way better than SPY, but that's because all of the tech stocks ran like that.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
I really have been liking that more than SPY recently, just because of the tech rotation. Tech stocks been going real crazy, so that been more clean than SPY.
And it broke that triple top or that double top too. So it didn't even hit the double top. It just broke right through and closed above it. So we got that candle confirmation above the double top. And
yeah, this thing could see 342, 345 if it with continuation.
Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, it looks like it definitely wants a continuation. And again, like just the way Apple is set up right now, and like I said, I can see a pullback on Apple, but if the market continues to move up the way it does, and Meta starts to head into that gap fill area, Apple, because if Apple can get back above 176 and close above 176 on the daily, we can take out or we can at least get up to 182. I think Apple can get back up to 182. And the reason Apple is important because it's the biggest stock on the planet. And if that stock is running, then the market will run too. If, you know, obviously other sectors play a part, but I'm saying Apple being involved is a very key point to getting a continuation. But then the chip sector. So if NVIDIA beats earnings and it does what Corleone feel that it can do, and I ain't saying I disagree with him. I'm just saying like he went hard. He said he was like, man, I think it's gonna go to 250. I mean, go to 350. I mean, it could. That's NVIDIA. If they beat earnings and got up, it's going. I believe that for sure. But if we get that, if that happens, if we got Meta, we got NVIDIA, we got Apple, then, you know, we can push this market up. And then, like you said, if oil comes back into play while tech is still running, because if you look at if I go back to the spreadsheet, I mean, to the presentation, and I go specifically back to the oil, I mean, not oil, I'm gonna go back to the sectors. I mean, right here. So last week, you see, we had technology and oil running together with financials, right? They all ran together, and most of the time they cycle out of them. But that was because all of those sectors were red the previous week, right? And now we got, so tech was barely red. It finished barely red on the week, but well, this was just on Friday for one day, this Friday that just passed. But we had energy breaking out and running, and healthcare breaking out and running. Hold on, real quick. I want to take a look at something real quick. So if healthcare is breaking out and running, I want to take a look and see what Pfizer and United Health and all of them are doing real quick, because we be sleeping on healthcare sometimes, man. And sometimes we need to pay attention to what's going on in healthcare. But then I just want to take a look at it real quick at what Pfizer and a few of these stocks are doing, because AbbVie got earnings. I mean, AbbVie was one of the biggest losers this past week, man. They killed Pfizer. Let me see. What about United Health? It's UNH, I believe. And that's ugly too. Yeah. So all of these stocks, they oversold. But I'm like, what stocks was it that kind of ran that up then? Was it Myrna? Like, what stocks? I'll have to do some more research and take a look and see what's going on. But a lot of these stocks are at demand zones right now. So that's why I'm saying we need to pay attention to them. Look at Moderna, for example. Moderna is right here at a strong level of support. So this is the bottom of a trend line here where it has bounced multiple times. So, and let's look at this on the weekly, which is also, hold on. I ain't saying it don't have room and it can't move down, but I like to follow these trends too. And 1 second, let's see something. Yeah, that lost that. Let me just use a different, like, see which one. Where we at? Look, you can always find some confluence, man, if you want to. That's why I'm like, that's why I always try to find multiple levels of confluence, because you can be biased in your research. Even it's just like in school, you want to find something to support a thesis, you're going to find it, right? So you got to follow what's really going on. But I'm like, this sector is beaten down, but this is one of them sectors that if it gets beaten down like that, certain stocks that bounce off of certain levels, and they've been doing it for a while. This is a weekly chart. It's been holding this level right here since 2020, right? So, and now we're at this level again. So let's see what happens if it's going to bounce here or if it's going to break this level. If it breaks this level, we know we can buy puts on this because it's probably going to die if it breaks this level. You know what I mean? So see how that goes. But yeah, I just wanted to take a look at healthcare for a second because that sector was just like beaten down so hard. And now it was one of the top sectors going into next week. But yeah, so based off the catalyst that we got going into next week, we know that the strong market movers are likely to be the Fed data. I mean, the Fed minutes on Wednesday at 2 p.m. But we got Bullet Monday morning pre-market. So I'm concerned about what Bullet got to say. And I'm also concerned about PCE data and GDP on Thursday. So but yeah, those things, I'm not looking for those things to necessarily be market movers unless the chart gives us a setup for those to play out. You know what I'm saying? So, and only thing I hate about GDP being Thursday is the fact that NVIDIA got earnings on Wednesday night. And so, but if GDP is bullish, then that's great for NVIDIA too. And but yes. What's up, KD?
Nah, I'm concerned about like I still think the market is bullish, but you gotta check both sides of the playing field. So I was looking at QQQ. They have really low seasonality in May, but I know the month is not over. Anything could happen, but it still look bullish to me. It guys, yeah, like transition from April to May, guys, lowest seasonality in May. I'm concerned about the debt ceiling. I think he's going to raise it. Like you said, they got to come to a decision. Isn't this last week?
Yeah,
this
but
is the last week
or Biden
before
can override them and just and go around them, and then yeah, he can do that and raise it too. But you know, I think that that's gonna be a last resort if they do that. I don't think that would be something good to do with an election year coming up, you know, because it's gonna look like it's not gonna look good if they can't, you know, come to agreement on something so important. But you know, they're gonna raise it. They always raise it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm looking forward to PCE and the GDP, and they got this number on Friday, Michigan sentiment. So that's about it.
okay, that comes out Friday too. Okay.
Yeah, at 10. So
okay. Yeah, that's something good to keep on the consumer sentiment. Thank you, because I totally didn't even have that on my radar. We gotta keep them, because that's always a wild card that comes out. You think the market going one way, and then that comes out and it just like shake things up. So yeah, no, that's cool. So we got a few things to keep an eye on. And again, I agree with you. QQQ is bullish. Look at this wedge break on the weekly, and it's been holding it ever since. And look how it's been holding this 9 EMA on the daily. But we got to also look at how long it's been oversold. So yeah, I'm following the price action here, man. And then also, bro, another thing to keep in mind is it came down on Friday a little bit, but yeah, like I said, this NVIDIA earnings going to weigh a lot on this too, man. But I just feel that going back to SPY for 1 minute, because I'm trying my best to be as neutral as possible with the whole market. But like I said, I was looking for key levels to be broken, and we started getting those key level breaks now. And so I do think SPY is going to fill this gap, but also this is the problem that I have though. It's just weakness, bro. I'm like, why couldn't we, if we broke out of this level on, I'm gonna go back to keep the daily up here. We broke out of the broadening formation, and yeah, we moving, but why couldn't we keep that strength going? Why is there so much weakness here? This is where we've always get stopped out at, in this area here. Yeah, we've gone up to 430, but I'm saying we keep getting stopped out in this area up here. So, you know, and we'll have instances where it'll go up here, have a bullish candle, then weakness come in and it sells back off. I think the Fed minutes on Wednesday are going to be the catalyst that could sell this market back off and bring everything back down. So, but again, we'll have to just see. Obviously, we'll be prepared for whatever happened. That doesn't mean you can't make money to the upside up until then. But then another thing, bro, let's say the market did come down because of some crazy information off the Fed data, right? If that did happen, once the Fed event, once the minutes are out and they dissect the minutes and the market consume, you know, eat that data up, it's going to run back up again, especially if GDP comes out the next day and is bullish again. So yeah, we just have to wait and see. But obviously, we're going to trade based off of what's in front of us and what's going on. I like the setups that tech got going on for this upcoming week. I like the setups we got in oil. But we got to go back to Walmart for a second, though. So y'all saw what happened. So hey, bro, so Corleone, how do you feel? Because we ain't talk about this since it happened. How do you feel about what happened with Walmart earnings? This is a crazy weekly with this bearish engulfing that we got right here, but it's still held. Go ahead. What are your thoughts on what happened with Walmart earnings this time? Because I mean, the information was bullish. The data was bullish in terms of, you know, what they did and everything. But how do you feel about how they sold Walmart like that off of earnings? Or how do y'all feel about that? Because I don't know. This is a bearish engulfing on the weekly. We broke back below the wedge break. So if the stock market runs up this way, Walmart coming back down. You know, we got a nice bull flag here that it was holding at first. I mean, and it's although we lost these EMAs, I think it's still within a certain range where it can still have a continuation, right? On the weekly. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, we got to see how this plays out. But like I said, we got other stocks in that sector that are reporting this week that could eat this up, because Walmart had a good earnings. Target, the one, had the bad earnings. Walmart had the good earnings, and then they guided up. So, yeah. But look at this, same thing.
There's been a lot of companies been guiding up this week and beating earnings and coming down that I've been seeing. So
Yeah, people.
Walmart's not the only one.
Yeah, so see, and then also we got to look at the sector rotation. Walmart, the XLP consumer staples sector is defensive. So people normally go run and throw their money in there when there's fear in the market. And now the tech and everything is running like this, and we got because bro, you know what? You hear a lot of bias in my commentary a lot, right? But we can't ignore this. We just can't ignore this, that SPY broke out of this level and it held finally, because we've been trying to break out of here. The fact that Apple broke out of that level and it held finally. The fact that NVIDIA is running like a bat out of hell. We can't ignore what's going on in big tech. And hold up, shout out to Elon real quick, because that interview he did was good for the stock, man. But we still in this broadening formation on a daily for Tesla, but it has a lot of room. It's been moving and look like it wants to close this gap up here at the 184 price level. Let me just pull this up a little bit and fill that gap in up on there. Nice bounce off that 50 EMA and a continuation. But it looked like it wants this gap fill, and that's where it's headed right now. So, and having Tesla back involved, that's another thing that can help tech. So that's the level right there at 184.31. It looked like that's where it's trying to get to now. It closed at 180 on Friday. Looked like it wants that gap. We get up there, then we can just have, like I said, here's the top of the broadening formation. So we got some room before we get there. We got another gap fill. We got two gaps up here before we get to that Broadney, the top of the Broadney formation. And I think that Tesla looked like it wants to get up there.
I seen another chart as well when you're done with that.
Okay, cool. Second, I'm just going to bring up to show the weekly on Tesla real quick. Bullish engulfing on the weekly chart. Is this, hold on, make sure I'm on the right thing. And then we can go check and see what you was talking about. Yeah, so this is the Tesla weekly chart here. Bullish engulfing, and we got a bull flag forming right here on the weekly too. So looks really good. You know, I like a bull flag. So we got one of them up in here, and we got, let me fix this. We got a nice bull flag right here on Tesla, and we got that. So we got a 2, what is that? A 2-2-2 continuation with a bullish engulfing on the weekly. So it looks great for Tesla, man. And but yeah, what's the other chart, KD?
Yeah, this stock been real tricky, and I can't really figure it out. But AI.
See, that's one of Corleone stocks, man. That's why I'm surprised he didn't bring it up.
Yeah, the weekly chart. I'm not sure what it's trying to do, but I thought it when you think it's dead, it comes back.
Right, but you got to look at how they be correlating with SPY running too.
Oh, for
Yeah,
real?
I don't watch it like that.
Okay.
I don't watch it like that.
Yeah, every
But
time
I notice on the daily coming down, but it's come down low value on the daily. So, but you said it correlates with SPY.
Let me ask y'all a question about it. Do y'all think, because I know you said something about this before, Corleone, like when Microsoft, because Microsoft got that partnership with them and everything, and do you think that like NVIDIA mentioned AI on the earnings call, that's going to affect this stock too?
I haven't necessarily seen it.
Okay.
Because even like when Meta, when they had their earnings and they were talking about AI, then it stayed where it was at. It didn't move.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I know when Microsoft, because Microsoft actually got a partnership with them, right? Was it Microsoft? No, that was AMD. But or that was a rumor, that wasn't even true. But yeah, but no, it's like, so like you said, looking at the correlation. So now you're gonna make me go look at it. But I thought it was a lot of times where I saw it breaking out and running was when they were talking about, whenever people just started, whenever it was just like one of those little, I don't know, y'all been watching it more than I have.
Nah, it consistently, it stayed in their range. Like it'll hit the support of about $20 if it can pull back, and then it'll bounce up. And the initial resistance when I first started paying attention to it was like right around $28, $28.30. But the last time that it had a run up, it broke above that and it hit like $32 before it pulled back.
Okay.
But each time each time that it hit the highs, there was a day when SPY was running like crazy.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Because it's like how stocks like SQ do, like when SPY is running, you get those stocks that are deadly oversold. They just kind of whatever. But I mean, that's also like but right now it's just a part of it's in right now. AI is in right now too. So never, yeah. But that's something good to keep in mind too, because we be looking. One thing we be looking for is stocks that move when SPY is moving, and this will probably account for why these stocks be so oversold when SPY is down too. So that makes sense. That's cool. Any other stocks that you looking at, or KD or anybody?
Nah, that's it.
But yeah, no, that was a cool one though too, because I know Corleone be making money off that stock, and he pointed it out a few times. So that's a good one. But yeah, man. So let me just see, did I cover everything? I think I covered everything that I had lined up to cover in terms of, hold on, I gotta take a look at Microsoft real quick, because we looked at a few other stocks, and yeah, man, that's crazy. And Kate, I mean, I'm gonna let you live, KK. But yeah,
look, I thought I heard you say it, but you weren't talking about that chart. course, I want you to look at Microsoft.
Yeah, so Microsoft, so Microsoft, it had a nice week. It finished inside on the week. I mean, on a day, breakout on the weekly, and I mean, it looks good, but yeah, nice. It broke that area where it could double top, and it looked like it has room possibly up to 225. I mean, to 323. Damn, hold up. Yeah, so if the market continues to run, then of course, then Microsoft is one of them stocks that's very sensitive to SPY. So what y'all were just saying about AI, this is something that's true for sure with Microsoft, because Microsoft is one of the biggest, one of the largest stocks on the S&P 500. So when they rotate out of tech, when the market starts to come down, Microsoft is like one of the first ones to get chopped off, right? And so, but yeah, it's been consolidating and breaking out like for the last few weeks. It's been making a move, and so if the market has a continuation, Microsoft is another one to definitely keep on watch. I like the way we got these green oscillator bars in the daily, and the volume was crazy. Even on Friday, the volume was higher than Thursday's volume. We had crazy volume for the week on Microsoft. I like Microsoft. My only problem with Microsoft right now is it's too far away from its mean value. You know, it's too far away from the 50 EMA, so it looked like it's time for it to come down soon. But look, it can run up a lot before it comes down if the market continues to run. But but when it's time to do that flip, they're gonna flip out of it quickly, and they might catch you when the music might stop on you, and you get clapped real hard on it. So when I see a stock that's this far away from its 50 EMA, I'm not really interested in trading it, probably more than just the open or something like, get a nice 30-minute trade on, or just to trade a breakout. If I, like we see this inside candle, obviously I would look for a bet, like during market hours, look for a setup on it. But yeah, it's bullish. It's bullish. I try not to just be too on the long term on things. You could find a nice quick breakout trade on a stock in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, the RSI is kind of high too. I think it's at 70 now. So
yeah. So but yeah, okay, cool. That's good. So what I always say, what I always like to do is see, because we talk about the RSI levels between 30, anything 30 and under is oversold, anything 70 and above is overbought, but you gotta also look at the stock and see what levels is it comfortable with the RSI historically. How far has it gone above those levels on things? But I typically like to stay out of those ranges. I like high probability trades, and a trade that's trading that far above RSI on the weekly. I like to look at the weekly and the daily RSI. I don't look at it on them lower time frames for that reason. I look at it for other reasons on them if I'm using it. But yeah, it's Microsoft can still move, man. Let me see, what's the all-time high for Microsoft? Oh yeah, what is that? 349.67. 349.67. I ain't saying it's going up there, but I'm just saying this market, market, since Microsoft broke out of this downtrend right here, has been running like a bat out of hell, man. That's when it should be traded. Now it's time for it to come back down. If you ask me, it's time for all of these stocks to come back down, unless they're gonna break through their all-time highs and keep it moving. But as far as, and again, everything that we talk about, man, or everything that we do, it has to be in direct correlation with the time frame that we're trading. So if you're planning to be in a trade for 5 minutes, what I'm talking about means absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? If you're planning to be in a trade for, a day trade, then what I'm talking about for the long term may not mean a thing. So everything is directly correlated to that. So don't take everything as just a face value. And I guess Google, you have to look at Google too, right? That was crazy, man. That nice move on Google, man. And Google's supposed to be catching up with Chat GPT now, where they saying that they feel like they got it now, and they got oversold. They got sold off like crazy when all that news started coming out. So nice breakout.
I bought shares of that. That's a good one.
Yeah, so this is another one to keep an eye on, like nice breakout right here. Look at that close above the 50. But remember what we were talking about, right? So this is the difference between Microsoft and Google. See, Google's 50 EMA is right here, this green line right here on the daily. So 50, no, that's the 5 minute, damn. So my bad, I'm on a 5 minute. So that's the wrong thing I'm talking about. So let me see what it looked like on here. Nah, this far away from this 52. So same shit. I mean, same thing with with Google that Microsoft has. But this is the thing also, like I was saying though, man, everything is based on what's going on. I will trade a breakout on any stock. You know what I mean? If it got volume and it looked like it's going to keep pumping, I'll trade it. It rejected this level up here on the daily and still managed to close above here. So this was where it had resistance here and looked like it closed above its resistance. It broke out of this resistance and it closed above it on the daily. So I'm just trying to put this here for a second. See this line? Oh, now it closed below it. So it found a way to close back below resistance. So it broke out and we actually had a close the day, well, it rejected it the day before. It broke out. Now, this is one of them head fakes I'll be telling y'all about. The stock break out of resistance level and people just buy it or whatever and just probably swung this or something. And then whole time, wait for the candle to close. It came back down. We got an inverse hammer right here, but it finished crazy on the week. So the weekly is one thing, but then having, you know, the daily is a totally different situation. So, yeah, so that's cool. But let me get off it here. But yeah, man. So just I guess to sum up things, to wrap it up, well, basically we all agree. Well, we agree that the market based off the way, if we just following the price action alone, forget the economic data for a second, that could possibly change a direction. Just looking at SPY on the daily, we got a 222 continuation with a break out of the broadening formation on the daily. It looked like it wants 422, which is the bear gap fill up here. That's where it looked like it's headed. And if it can get, so again, that's where, and it's done that multiple times before, got up there, but we haven't been out of this range. We've been holding this range since January. So we haven't been able to break out this level right here since January. The last time we were above this level here was back in August. And then you see what happened right after that. We violently sold off and that was the rest of that, right? So yes, let's just see how this plays out, man. You know, the summer brings a lot of things for the stock market and let's just see what happens this time, man. But, you know, follow the price action, follow it every day. But SPY looks good on the weekly. It looks good on the daily. Tech looks good on the weekly, looks good on the daily. And like I said, if the market does break out of here, if SPY breaks above the 422 price level, if it gets above there, then we have room up to 431. That's where I think it would head to if we can break above 422 and hold above 422, you know, so a break and a hold above, then that would be where we head to. So, but yeah, that's all I have, man. Do anybody got any last minute questions or anything?
Yeah, Devin Haney cheated. That's it.
Man, I don't know how he won that fight, man. And he didn't even believe that he won the fight when it was over.
I think he did. He was jumping up for joy.
No, but I'm saying, like, when he was walking away, he was just like, did I win that fight? Like yeah, that was weird. That was a weird one for me, man. I thought he lost that fight, man. But you see Shakur waiting for him now. So that when you see somebody get beat up like that, you know, they were saying Depp, they were saying Haney, Shakur, and Tank, right? Like those could fight or whatever. But after we saw the weaknesses, but I feel like, man, Tank had one of those fights a few years ago where he was just tired, exhausted. He fought his way through it and he won the fight. And so you have one of these types of fights and you still win, they still give it to you, then you go back and you humble yourself. But I feel like they made him win because they you know, he's one of those fighters where they want him to fight Tank. They want him to fight Shakur or whatever. So in order to sell a fight like that, he couldn't lose this fight in order to sell that fight. Yeah. So, but we'll see how that plays out, man. And but Shakur now he bullying him now. He already picked him apart last night.
Yeah, I
And
saw that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so now he calling him out. So, and he like, I know I tear
He
it.
don't he don't gotta answer him though.
Yeah, right. So we'll see. But yeah, he cheated. They cheated, man. I don't know what's up with that. But all right,
Yeah.
man. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night. And let's see how the Asian futures market open tonight.
All right. Thanks for your
Yeah.
time.
All right,
No
bro.
problem.
I
Peace.
see.
All
See
right,
y'all.
later.
This little group.
Go later.
All right, y'all.
Bye, Antoine. Sorry I joined in at the end, man. I had my son's about baptism today, so I wasn't really able to catch
No,
it.
it's cool, Pete. It's cool. I mean,
I'm excited for the week.